Hey everyone, welcome back! Today we're taking a look at the new Merulina Augment and how to make Yareli and Merulina literally invincible on Steel Path. Nothing can kill you. Seriously. Short of falling off the map yourself. Or if you go out of your way to get yourself killed. The only drawback is you have to use Merulina. I mean, it's a build focused around Merulina's new Augment, so what did you expect? Today's build has roughly 100 kpm. This is an iteration of my Yareli build I used during my Tenet Plinx showcase a few months ago, tweaks for Merulina setups. While I'm showcasing with Tenet Plinx today, since it has some of the most to gain from the augments, keep in mind you can literally use any pistol you want. Ones that have a lot of spread and a punch through or AoE are recommended. Some people mention Spore Lacer, but I don't own one. Yes, this is a status Spore Lacer I own for priming. Anyways, the Augment. Merulina Guardian shipped with Citrine's Last Wish alongside Merulina Changes, namely Merulina was boosted to grant you 90% damage redirection instead of 75%. Harder for you to die, but now Merulina dies faster. Except she doesn't because we can heal her. Traditionally, healing Merulina was done with Gloom if you really wanted to because she is unaffected by armor mods or damage reduction mods. Yareli was instead. Basically, Merulina now mitigates 90% of incoming damage to Yareli after armor and adaptation is calculated for Yareli. The thing is, not everybody wants to run Gloom. Merulina Guardian heals her by 20% scaled by strength per enemy killed affected by sea snares. This is a way to heal Merulina while using a different Helminth. Sea snares was also changed during her rework to debuff enemies so they take more damage. But we have a problem here. If you want to use Riptide, which was also changed to not instantly explode during the Lua's Prey Yareli rework, you either manually detonate it on higher duration setups, or let it detonate naturally on a negative duration setup. It is honestly much easier to play a negative duration Yareli if you use Riptide for ease of use. This does make Aqua Blades useless, so if you intend to use Surging Blades, I would not recommend using the setup I showed today. In fact, Aqua Blades is the ability we subsume off. Oh yeah, her passive now lasts a lot longer before it wipes when you stop moving. On top of this, you cannot cast Helminth abilities while on Merulina, therefore you either need long-lasting buffs or channeled abilities if you want to make the best use of Merulina Guardian. Yareli already has grouping and damage debuff. The only things she is missing is a damage buffing, defense removal, or passive crown control. Merulina Guardian grants a shit ton of buffs in the form of unmoddable, 200% fire rate and reload speed, so we don't really need more damage. Plus, a negative duration builds mean none of Roar, Zata, Eclipse, or Nourish even last 20 seconds, making them annoying to recast. If you ignore Riptide, you can build higher duration and actually use other Helminths. So I settled on Gloom. Again. We already know Gloom makes Merulina quasi-invincible, but there is a more complicated reason why I did this. You cannot accidentally uncast Gloom on Merulina, preventing you from fat-fingering it. Merulina's Guardian's big advantage is not the Merulina heal. You can simply uncast and recast Merulina whenever HP gets low, or even immediately recast Merulina when she dies, because no matter how you dismount off her, you get iframes. The real reason is, Gloom's passive slow means 1. Merulina will not be shot enough to be killed on today's setup, and 2. You can heal Merulina even without Merulina Guardian, and 3. You can heal yourself because the only other easy way to heal is relying on health orbs. You never have to dismount since you now have an infinite health Yareli and an infinite health Merulina. While this makes the Merulina Guardian heal useless, the unmoddable plus 200% fire rate and reload speed is still an absolutely insane bonus. Where else can you find ability augments like this that buff your weapon so much where the mod is on your frame? It's like Biting Frost's augments. But there's another problem with Gloom we have to work around. Merulina Guardian only grants the reload and fire rate buff if Merulina is actually healed from killing enemies affected by sea snares. If Merulina is already full health, the augment will fail to activate. It turns out killing or damaging an enemy activates Gloom's lifesteal before the Merulina Guardian heal, preventing you from ever activating the augment. To fix this, we use Combat Discipline as our aura. This makes the orders of operation be as follows. You kill an enemy affected by sea snares. Gloom heals you based off of damage dealt. Then, Combat Discipline damages you because you killed an enemy. Merulina mitigates 9 out of the 10 self-damage, then because Merulina is not at full HP, Merulina Guardian activates, healing her and activating the reload and fire rate buffs. This is our workaround to avoid the Gloom interaction problem with the Augment. Gloom also works because unlike a few other grouping abilities, Riptide's pull is not slowed by the Gloom aura. Therefore, you can safely cast Riptide while nullifying threats everywhere and maintain good KPM. Gloom also requires higher strength to get a big slow, of which we hit a 95% on today's setup. Strength also affects how much health Merulina spawns with, but it also affects how much percent HP Merulina regens on a Sea Snare kill. Therefore, the tankiness of Merulina, assuming she cannot be one-shot, scales quadratically with strength. Fully stacked, or Merulina today surpasses 20,000 HP and heals over 10,000 health per Sea Snare kill. This scales well beyond 2 hours Steel Path. While it's not appropriate for level 9k, you could probably get to level 1 to 2k and still be fine. This is our Yareli build. As previously mentioned, we're using Combat Discipline to get around the Merulina Augment interaction problem with Gloom. This is the only way to achieve the plus 200% reload and fire rate buffs consistently if you use Gloom. We have 175 efficiency and 190 efficiency for channeled ability calculations, making everything on the build as cheap to maintain as possible. As a result, we do not need Energize or Flow. Equilibrium alone is more than enough. Gloom caps out at 1.88 drain per second here. We actually want 40 duration because it lets Riptide explode naturally after 4 seconds, instead of having to manually uncast it to place another one elsewhere. I only modded 145 range because Gloom and Riptide by default already reach pretty far. Too much range on Gloom makes enemies stuck behind doors and walls and unable to be pulled properly by Riptide since it has a line of sight check. Gloom always negatively affects KPM in exchange for survivability, so we only want enough range to reduce nearby threats, while aggressively hunting down enemies and grouping them together with Riptide. Riptide has a 21.75 meter suck on this build, meaning casting it in the middle of Gloom can pull almost anything in it. It can also pull enemies into Gloom and is unaffected by the slow aura. This is a Hell Tank build today, so we have Vitality and Intensify. If you can fit double Umbral, good for you. Adaptation for even more comfort, Prime Sure-Footed, is not required as it's only a fallback for when you're dismounted, because Merulina is completely immune to knockdown effects. Today's build uses Molt Vigor, because I'm pairing it with Matarai for plus 40% strength and a plus 50% casting speed buff. You do not need to activate the casting speed buff every 20 seconds, especially since you can just use 2 casting speed Archon Shards. But since Gloom snapshots strength on casts, you can cast your 2 in Operator to activate Molt Vigor's plus 45% strength buff, when also double Void Slinging to activate Sling Strength's plus 40% buff. This boosts Gloom to 229 strength for a 80% slow even at the start of the mission. Gloom camps out to a 95% slow at 273 strength. The missing strength can be reached either by stacking Molt Augmented or stabbing an Xmas unit with Parazon with Power Drain, since they now start spawning after 1 minute. Then you can hop off Merulina, activate Matarai's Volt Vigor and Sling Strength again, and uncast recast Gloom for a 95% slow, forever. When you hop back on Merulina, she will also now have at least 20,000 HP and heal at least 8,000 HP per Sea Snares kill. If you activate Matarai's Sling Strength every 20 seconds for the casting speed and strength buffs, Sea Snares will now heal Merulina by over 10,000 HP per enemy. I would lightly recommend 2 times Amber casting speed Archon Shards as Riptide has significant end lag before you're able to cast Sea Snares into it. The pacing of the setup is rather comfy and slow to use, but can still pose a noticeable quality of life issue otherwise. You just go around the red dots on the map, cast Riptide and shoot into it. If you want to heal Merulina or debuff them for more damage, cast Sea Snares into it before shooting. That's it. I picked Tenet Plinx because Yareli works with it so well. Yes, you can use Spore Lacer or whatever you want so long as it has punch through, or a lot of spread, or AoE. If the weapon takes longer to kill, you can run a rank 4 fleeting instead to make Riptide last 5 seconds instead of 4 seconds. But yes, Tenet Plinx has god-awfully slow battery regen. Merulina Guardian massively buffs this to the point it's honestly ridiculous since it's affected by reload speed. I built for a pure electric one today on an electric Progenitor because Riptide ragdolls enemies, significantly increasing the amount of hits AoE weapons can deal as well as the amount of body parts electric procs can chain to. I use Creeping Bullseye instead of Prime Pistol Gambit because Yareli's passive boosts this to exactly 200% crit chance for guaranteed oranges. It also lowers the Forma requirement. Prime Slip Magazine is used because Tenet Plinx does more damage on the alt fire the larger your magazine is. Primed Quick Draw is still here because it comes in real handy when Merulina Guardian's buffs aren't up. You don't need more damage anyways, just quality of life. Lethal Torrent is used instead of Hornet Strike since Tenet Plinx is strong enough to easily kill fodder units and begin stacking secondary Merciless easily. The bonus fire rate also cuts charge time down to 0.57 seconds to counter Creeping Bullseye's penalty before Merulina Guardian activates. Primed Bane because double dipping in electric procs for 2.4 times more damage. Panzer same as always, just make sure you have radar and vacuum. A viral quill spread is unnecessary on today's setup, but the Synset mods are required so that you can pick up HP orbs even at full HP. You have a 95% slow and grouping ability, so you will not always be taking damage, even if it's a health tanking build because you have shields. Cheers! If this is your first time watching, feel free to leave a like or better yet subscribe. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. 79.5% of you are not subscribed. I'm trying my best to get you new information out always, as soon as possible. Like I've done with Citrine's Last Wish. Stick around if you want to see interesting memes and builds on a nearly daily basis, as well as the earliest Duviri content once it drops. Don't want to miss out on any of that, do you? That'll be it for this video. Thank you all for watching and see you all next time.